So this is Joe Leigh here with a pioneer of British mixed martial arts, Marc Goddard. How are we?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. Busy day.
Yeah, a very busy day. As you can kind of see in the background here at the Arnold Sports Festival, the first one in the UK, and obviously here for EMMAA's event that they've been putting on. Today was the National Amateur Invitationals. How did you find it?
Yeah, today was the home country's invitational, so we didn't just keep it close to England. There was fighters from Scotland, Ireland, England obviously. It was open to everybody, Scotland, England, Ireland, Wales. Yeah, and the fights today, well, you see yourself, some of them were incredible. I keep saying all the time about these youngsters that are coming through. Nobody's heard of them yet, but this is where they start to make their mark, and it was a good day.
Seeing Marc Goddard at an MMA event, not refereeing, was quite weird.
Yeah, it is weird. But I'm here working, so that's the strange thing, is I don't often go to MMA events if I'm not working. It's not often I'm not working, but even if I'm not. But today, like I said, the importance here is obviously for EMMAA, for the English Mixed Martial Arts Association. We're building this, you know. We're trying to get it off the ground and do everything the right way. And then obviously having a platform like the Arnold's is spot on. It's fantastic.
How long has this been planned for, to get these national invitationals, the youth events on as well over the next couple of days?
Well, as soon as the Arnold's was announced, we was contacted by Paul and Joe at Fighters Inc. And we had a meeting and discussed it, obviously with them highlighting mixed martial arts. Everybody knows about the popularity of the sport, and they came to us as a national federation to invite us and ask us if we wanted to take it and put it on, and here we are.
What are the other ways you plan on getting an audience for EMMAA, getting it recognised across England and even the UK? What are the other ideas that you've got similar to today with, you know, big events, getting people noticed and getting a bigger audience?
Yeah, it's a slow process because, you know, as you know, like you said, getting it recognised. We are, you know, the sport of mixed martial arts in the UK isn't recognised by Sport England. That is the end goal for us, is to get governmental recognition. When I say end goal, I mean end goal in as much as getting us to that marker. Once we get there, that's actually the beginning for us. When we actually get there, that's when the real work will begin. Look, it's going to be a long time. We're under no illusion. It's going to be a long process. It's a difficult process. But me and the fellow board members and you know, like-minded individuals, when you see today, and obviously I'm really looking forward to tomorrow and Sunday, because it's going to be a first in the UK, because it's going to be the youth tournament. So obviously internationally, amateur, the IMAF internationally recognised the youths, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. And tomorrow and Sunday is going to be an English youth qualifier. So for the first time, these kids are fighting for their place to represent England at next year's Youth Worlds.
I know for a fact that's one of your goals, and another goal of EMMAA is to get MMA to become an Olympic sport. How far away do you think that is? Because I was speaking to Paul earlier, and he was saying potentially by the next Olympics, but obviously the one after, which will be 7 years from now in LA, is also very likely. Can you kind of give a time frame on how soon you think it could be, and any kind of, yeah?
Yeah, you know, look, MMA in the Olympics, it divides a lot of people, but it divides a lot of people in ignorance, and I mean that in the truest sense. Obviously, the goal of getting MMA to the Olympics is the IMAF's vision. That's the International Mixed Martial Art, of which we're associated to. And obviously I work across both. I work for IMAF and represent them, and the same for EMMAA. So getting MMA as an Olympic, a recognised sport in the Olympics, it's a long-term goal of IMAF. You referenced 2028 in LA. The target there is a potential of getting it as a demonstration sport. That would be the first hurdle to get IMAF there to get IMAF there, yes, and obviously the sport of MMA there as a demonstration sport. That would be absolutely monumental, and all the countries over 130 national federations are part of IMAF, all about developing the sport, trying to harmonise the sport and get it to have some commonality, you know, to be the same and recognise the same. Excuse me. God. You can cut that bit out. Yeah. Trying to get the sport recognised the same. We're still a young sport, you know, and part of that process is doing things like we're doing today.
For the average person that doesn't look into EMMA and IMAF and watches the Olympics, why isn't it already an Olympic sport? Because I know you just said kind of ignorance, partly ignorance, but you've got boxing, you've got taekwondo, you've got wrestling, you've got judo. Why don't you just put it all together? I know there's other sports involved in mixed martial arts to make it what it is, but why isn't it already in it, Mark?
Because you're talking, I mean, you say wrestling there, probably it's the original Olympic discipline. You know, it's thousands of years old. Boxing is hundreds of years old. Taekwondo and martial arts, hundreds of years old. MMA, we're still formative. We're still a young sport, and that's what a lot of people can't get to grips with. We're still formalising and building and trying to get things together. And that's where the work of the national federations feeding into the international federation, IMAF, in trying to do the same thing, getting the sport harmonised and recognised as for what it is. That's the difficult process. There's a lot of politics and a lot of, like I said, ignorance, and I mean it in the truest sense. You know, people say that they fear for you know, MMA's rise and stuff. I don't think that's necessarily true. I think there's enough meat on the bones for everybody to have their fair share. But I'm not in any rush. I'd rather do this incrementally correct than catastrophically, you know, fast and just, I think things will come undone. That's the problem with MMA. MMA has exploded this way. The triangle is upside down. UFC, Bellator, everyone's at the top. We don't have the history to underpin it. When you look at our closest relative in boxing, boxing's hundreds of years old. It's had its history and its formation and its foundation. We're working backwards. We're trying to catch up. We're trying to underpin what's already at the top.
To put it quickly then, Paris 2024, it doesn't have to be a long-winded answer. Do you think that's too soon?
For
MMA in the Olympics or a test event?
It would never happen. Because the way that the Olympic movement works, obviously everything's planned very, very well in advance. But the target of a demonstration sport for 2028 in LA, that would be the first major hurdle.
Okay, yeah, because I know skateboarding was newly introduced this year's Olympics. And maybe you could look at what they've done in order to get it in, although it's very different because it's not as dangerous. Nowhere near as dangerous compared to MMA. But moving on, what are you currently making of IMAF's movements? I know we spoke about EMMA, and what about IMAF in particular and what they're doing for mixed martial arts and the youth championships, the World Cups, the World Championships, the amateurs and seniors and everything like that?
Well, I'm immensely proud of what IMAF are doing. You know, I was there pretty much included at the start with IMAF. You know, they approached me many years ago. It's coming up to the 10-year anniversary. Watching how the sport's developed. We don't, you know, it's not, I have respect for everybody, and like I said, there's enough meat on the bones. We don't have, you know, nobody does it like IMAF. Nobody. I don't care what anyone says. I believe myself to be educated in this sport, and I'm not decrying what other people are trying to do, but nobody's doing what we're doing on the level and the intensity of to try and represent amateur MMA at that level. Like I said, I'm immensely proud of the work, my involvement with IMAF. It's close to my heart watching these kids develop. A vested interest in me, obviously, is the officials, training and developing them too. It's not just about, it's the sport as a whole. Coaches, athletes, officials, the whole thing, the whole shooting match, the whole thing's developing, and we're at the forefront.
Couple more topics then. I know you were at Cage Warriors last night in London, the first of this weekend's trilogy, 126, 127, 128, is that right? What are you making of Cage Warriors' movements over the last year? I guess you could say the pandemic's kind of been a blessing in disguise because the trilogy event seems to be working for them really well.
Trilogies were sick. Listen, my involvement with Cage Warriors goes back further than any other promotion, including the UFC. You know, they have a special place in my heart, Cage Warriors. In reality, that was the promotion that allowed me to showcase myself as a referee, and allowed me to cut my teeth with world-class guys. You look back in the history of Cage Warriors, they've always had world-class guys. Look at the belt holders back in the day. I could reel off a ton of names. And like I said, as a promotion, they're the closest promotion to my heart. And obviously, whenever I'm in town, whenever I'm there, and the trilogy events over the pandemic have been some of the best Cage Warriors events in their history.
How long have you been working with them? Because I'm 20 now, and I can imagine it's been longer than 10 years.
Yeah, I've been with Cage Warriors. I've been refereeing now for 17 years, and I believe my tenure with Cage Warriors is 16 years old. Wow. That's how long.
So I was 4 years old. I could barely walk.
You were 4 years old, yeah. Wow. I first started refereeing in 2004, so 21. I'm now in 17th year. And it was very shortly after I mistakenly took my first steps as a referee that Cage Warriors got in touch. Good friend of mine, training guy at the time, Andy Roberts, spoke to the owner at the time, guy called Dougie. And yeah, I'm going to say 16 years with Cage Warriors. There's only one person alive who has a longer tenure with the promotion than I do, and that's Ian Dean.
Yeah, I know him. One more thing then I want to talk about is obviously the UFC. How long have you been refereeing with them, for the people that don't know?
I've been with the UFC since 2008, so I'm 13 years in with the UFC. I've been with the UFC for 13 years.
So it only took you 3 years as a ref to get to the big time?
Yes, just under 4 years.
What's your favourite fight? I think I know this, but I'm going to let you tell the people. Was it Robert Whittaker Adesanya, the first fight?
No, Kelvin Gastelum Adesanya.
Sorry, yeah.
The Whittaker fight was over quite quick, unfortunately. You know, obviously it went in Israel's favour. But yeah, I never used to be able to answer the question about favourite fights. I've had fight of the year all over the place, you know, mate. You know, funnily enough, one of the guys, and people don't understand, Alex Reed and Tom Watson. Tom was here today. Tom Watson, that's still singly, it's the greatest MMA fight that's ever taken place in this country. Anybody who was there will know what the worth of that fight was. Jose Aldo and Mendes too in Brazil. I remember in Canada, Carlos Condit and Johnny Hendricks, all fight of the year candidates. But yeah, I think by quite a margin. It would be Israel Adesanya and Kelvin, just fucking because. Go and watch the fight, man. Turn up the sound and watch the fucking fight, and I don't need to say anything else. Just because.
This is the last topic, and you can be as biased as you like, because I know you won't ref Leon Edwards. He needs a fucking title fight.
Look, obviously the workings of a promotion and how things work, you know, that I'm not at liberty to say. Look, is Leon Roberts? He was here to have a. Is Leon Edwards deserving of a title shot? Unequivocally. You know, I was talking about him, funnily enough, earlier. I was sitting talking to Habib, and we were talking about. He was saying, "Remind me who were the best fighters from Birmingham?" And I said, "Well, obviously the most notable is Leon, you know." And you look, he's on what, 9-fight win streak, or something ridiculous, you know. But look, it's like I said, the workings of the promotion behind the scenes. That's not my business. But it's clear if Leon Edwards was given a title shot tomorrow, nobody's complaining. And the guy's he's fucking good. You know, I'll never ref him. The reason I don't ref him is because it's just too close to home. I used to teach him way when he first walked into UTC in Erdington as a young amateur. and I just don't need that association, you know. Professionally, I just distance myself. I have a lot of respect for Leon. The way his backstory is phenomenal. You know, when he came over from Jamaica, obviously the story of his father, him and his brother, coming up, walking into the gym with no background in martial arts, into the top handful of welterweights on the planet. Good kid, man, and all the best to him.
Yeah, the Masvidal fight makes the most sense, but it would be so great for the belt. Maybe instead, I don't know, bring it back to Birmingham.
Well, that was Leon's last loss was to Kamaru, and it was a decision, you know. So that was the last loss. Obviously, he's been on an absolute. I think it's 9.
I remember him saying 8, but that was before the night. Yes, that was, or maybe because the Bilal Muhammad was no contest. So
yeah. So he's 10 fights unbeaten, but I think 9 officially on his record. The kid, the kid's on it. Like I said, he's in the top handful of. It's an argument, or it's a matter of opinion on where you position him, but he's clearly one of the best welterweight fighters on the planet. No argument about that.
Well, I know you got a busy couple of days coming up, so thanks for your time. We'll speak again soon.